We all have our time machines, don't we? Those that take us back are memories, and those that carry us forward are dreams. I'm sure you have a few flashbulb memories as well. It's those memories that burn so brightly in our minds, where you can recall every detail of where you were, what you were wearing, and what you were feeling. These moments feel like they're carved into stone. And yet studies show that even these perfect, vivid snapshots can be altered over time. It's not a surprise so many of us have trust issues. If we can't trust our own memory, then who can be trusted? The ancient Greeks talked about Mnemosyne, the goddess of memory. She was seen as a river of remembrance. The story goes that her evil counterpart was Lethe, the river of forgetting, and so the Greeks feared Lethe because it made souls dull, forgetful, reincarnated with no past, but loved Mnemosyne as a secret current that let initiates remember who they had been. In Orphic rituals, the dead were given precise instructions. Drink not from Lethe, child of night, but seek Mnemosyne's well, and drink of remembrance. Because to remember was to awaken, to dodge the soul-wiping anesthesia of rebirth, and emerge whole. So, even though it bends and blurs, memory is the oldest oracle we possess. Like amber, it preserves our soul. This is the most important lesson on memory you will get. So make sure you remember it well. The inner archaeology is part of the self-discovery process. Usually when we dive into self, we treat memory like a compass. The paradox is this: to know yourself, you must remember. But memory itself is often unstable and subjective. You're trying to map a city that rearranges itself each time you visit. Each recall is a remix, colored by your current beliefs. Memory isn't passive storage, it's active storytelling. It is both the gate and the jail. It edits for coherence. It deletes what doesn't fit your self-image. It invents context. So what to do when the mirror lies? Best part of working on yourself is that by understanding how all the different types of memories work inside of you, you can free yourself from their claws. Know that your emotions are memory's strongest allies. The more emotional an event, the more likely it is to be remembered. Paradoxically, emotions can also alter how we remember things, often leading us to idealize or demonize experiences. When we store memories, it's not like saving a file on a computer. Instead, memories are encoded and stored across various parts of the brain. The hippocampus is the key player here, especially for forming new memories, while the amygdala tags them with emotional significance. Memories aren't stored in neat, coherent files. They're distributed across the brain and come together through a process of reconstruction every time we recall them. In fact, every time you pull up a memory, your brain remakes it, and every time you do this, it subtly alters. Like a telephone game in your head. Over time, you forget details and add new ones. Or worse, your brain might make up information to fill in the gaps. This phenomenon is even known as memory distortion. Egyptians had a much deeper understanding of memory than most modern societies credit them for. They approached memory not as a simple function of the brain, but as a sacred continuity of the soul. Memory was the key to keeping one's soul intact after death. Without it, one was doomed to wander, forever lost in oblivion, a mere ghost. In their eyes, memory was a metaphysical thread connecting our lives across dimensions. The Book of Dead is a memory guide, a script for the soul to follow when the body and brain no longer functioned. They, of course, didn't trust memory to survive within the brain, and by embedding memory in ritual and inscription, thus created a form of cognitive scaffolding that transcended biological limits. Memory for them had to be preserved as truth, not because truth was sacred in itself, but because only truth could anchor the soul after death. No matter what you believe in, it looks like understanding how your memory works is one of the most important information of your life. So let's explore a few more types of memories. Some memories influence your behavior without your conscious awareness. For example, you might flinch when you hear a loud noise because your brain remembers the time you were scared by one, even though you don't consciously remember the event. You don't rehearse grammar when you speak your mother tongue. You don't reflect on how to blink or where your fingers go on a familiar keyboard. This kind of memory shapes a lot of your habitual behaviors, and this means this type of memory has a lot of power over you. You don't remember learning to fear. You just do. Neuroscientifically, implicit memory is governed by the striatum, a region several blocks away from the tidy logic of the hippocampus. There, memory becomes ritual, pattern. It is not something you retrieve. It is something that acts through you. The loop that loops again, the repetition of the thing you hate, sometimes it's the unchosen rhythm you keep dancing to. The smell of antiseptic makes your stomach tighten. That's a conditioned memory. Often it forms when emotion is high and attention is low. Trauma, repetition, or childhood exposure are common culprits. It bypasses the thinking mind. One of the most satisfying steps on the self-discovery journey is to face our implicit memories and rewrite them consciously. Memory is a strange beast. It slips through your fingers like sand, yet we cling to it like it's all we have. We define ourselves by our memories, as if they're the solid foundation upon which our identities are built. All of us have episodic memories, personal experiences with a time and place. Something like remembering your first kiss. And then there is also semantic memory, more factual, like remembering the capital of France. Autobiographical memory is the collection of memories that make up your life story. These memories are shaped by narrative biases. You tell yourself your story in a way that makes sense, but you might be leaving out or misremembering key details to fit the narrative you want to believe. Freud would make you sad very quickly and tell you that you're all about repression, that your memories are not real. They're what your mind can tolerate, made up of fragments, stitched together by your unconscious, so you can sleep at night. Sigmund Freud argued that memory is deeply intertwined with a defense mechanism that helps us forget painful or uncomfortable experiences. We actively choose which parts of our past we remember and which we bury. His main point is that we often forget on purpose. Then we venture into the biological realm, where this whole drama is called synaptic plasticity, and the secret is that neural connections strengthen and weaken. That means the memory you had yesterday might be different from the one you have today, even if you're convinced it's the same. What the brain stores and what it actually retains can be two very different things. Memory is not a stable river, it's more like a whirlpool, constantly reshaping its course. Memory is elastic. It stretches in one direction, contracting in the next. It's not chronological. It's a spiral staircase that doesn't ever lead you to the same place. We go around and around, touching the same corners, but always with new shoes, new eyes. Now, let's talk about sleep. You thought you were getting some peaceful rest, but in fact, sleep is a crafty operator in the memory game. While you're out cold, your brain's over here pulling a heist. It's consolidating your memories, hoarding them in the vaults of your subconscious, and you have no idea what it's up to. Because you're unconscious, you're out of the loop. It's like a secret society, plotting behind your back. This is when the memories get cemented, when they move from short-term to long-term storage. The brain's not some benevolent librarian. It decides what stays and what goes. It's selective. A bit like your ex when they chose to forget all the good moments. What happens when you forget stuff? Well, what if the things you've forgotten are the very things you needed to remember? Or perhaps, what if forgetting is the very thing that keeps you sane? Virginia Woolf was amazed by the beauty of the memories. I can only note that the past is beautiful because one never realizes an emotion at the time. It expands later, and thus we don't have complete emotions about the present, only about the past. If only there could be an invention that bottled up a memory, like scent, and it never faded and it never got stale. And then, when one wanted it, the bottle could be uncorked, and it would be like living the moment all over again. Indeed, many things are easy in our memories. For example, it is easy to love people in memory. The hard thing is to love them when they are there in front of you. Some wise people even whisper that one of the keys to happiness is a bad memory. So you know whether you choose to remember everything or to forget, it's up to you. Both ways bring us closer to our core. Memory is an ongoing, living process that defines who we are, what we believe, and how we interact with the world. It shapes our understanding of ourselves. But like the Pantarei philosophy of Heraclitus, it's always in flux, always flowing. The timeless in you is aware of life's timelessness, and knows that yesterday is but today's memory and tomorrow is today's dream. Timeless being does not store memories like nuts for the winter. It does not hoard moments or lock them in vaults of nostalgia for some future famine of meaning. It lives in a continuity where past and future dissolve into presence. To the timeless, memory isn't a shelf of souvenirs but a living pulse, ever unfolding, reshaping itself in the now. It doesn't revisit the past as an archive but as a mirror, fluid, reinterpreted by the depth of current awareness. Storing memories implies fear of loss, of forgetting, of disconnection. But the timeless being has no such fear. It is the source from which all memory arises and to which all experience returns, not as data, but as essence. It drinks the present raw and whole. What matters is not what happened, but what is happening, and how that happening echoes through the awareness.